She is 94 years old and has never missed a Tuesday, not a single time in 40 years. Every Tuesday morning, before the sun rises over the hills above Ogimi, a small village in northern Okinawa, she walks 3 blocks to a small community garden. It is not for exercise. She is 94 years old, so she walks slowly, leaning on a cane, and every year it takes her a little longer to get there. She goes to water her tomatoes, check on the squash vines clinging to the old wooden fence, and leave a small bundle of vegetables by the gate for any neighbor who might need them that week. Each of these sessions lasts for 40 minutes. She calls it her Tuesday. When researchers from the Blue Zones Project came to Ogimi and asked what kept her so healthy, what kept her alive at 94 with a sharp mind and no serious illnesses, she looked at them as if the question confused her. "I have to go on Tuesday," she said. "The tomatoes are waiting." She did not say exercise. She did not say diet. She did not say meditation or supplements. She said the tomatoes are waiting. That is what every longevity study ultimately comes back to, and most of them bury it in a tiny footnote at the bottom of the page. It is not what these people do with their bodies before 7 in the morning that keeps them alive. It is what they do with their purpose. We are taught that longevity is a matter of the body, what you eat, how many steps you take, how many hours you sleep. But in Okinawa, which has the highest concentration of centenarians in the world, researchers keep finding something else. Something that is not on any food label and cannot be tracked with a smartwatch. They found the tomatoes waiting, and that is exactly what this is about. Today we are going to go through what these Japanese centenarians actually do before 7 in the morning, and the concept behind all of those practices. It is not a workout routine. It is not a list of supplements. It is a different way of understanding why you wake up. In 2019, a study published in JAMA Network Open tracked more than 6,000 adults over 4.5 years. The results showed that people who reported a strong sense of purpose in life had a significantly lower risk of death compared to those who did not, regardless of age, gender, or initial health status. Dan Buettner's Blue Zones research in Okinawa found the same thing. Out of all the factors like diet, movement, family, and community, the strongest predictor of a long, healthy life was Ikigai. That does not mean movement is not important. It is. But in Okinawa, movement is not seen as the goal. It is a byproduct of having a reason to go somewhere. The 94-year-old woman does not exercise on Tuesday mornings. She walks to the garden because the tomatoes are waiting. The body moves, but the motivation is not health. The motivation is usefulness. That leads us to the concept that most of us have heard of, but almost no one truly understands. You might have seen the Ikigai diagram. 4 overlapping circles representing what you love, what you are good at, what the world needs, and what you get paid for. That diagram is not Japanese. It was created by a Western author trying to translate the concept into the language of career and passion. Japanese people do not recognize it as their Ikigai. Ikigai, pronounced Ikigai, is spelled with 2 characters. Iki, meaning life, and gai, meaning value or something worthwhile. The true meaning is the reason that makes your life worth living. In Okinawa, when you ask an elderly person about their Ikigai, they do not talk about their career. They do not talk about a grand passion. They do not talk about leaving a legacy for the world. They say things like this. A 97-year-old man in Naha village says his Ikigai is teaching his granddaughter how to fold origami on Sunday afternoons. A 102-year-old woman says it is baking bread for the community center every Thursday morning. Someone else says it is feeding the neighborhood cats at dawn. No one mentions passion. No one mentions a mission. They talk about small, specific things, and it always involves someone or something that is waiting for them. This is the part that most people overlook. Western Ikigai asks what your purpose is. Japanese Ikigai asks what is waiting for you today. The first question can take years to answer. The second question can be answered before 7 in the morning. And that answer usually looks like this. In Japanese, there is a phrase, seiwa wo suru, pronounced seiwa wo suru, which literally means to perform care or to intentionally care for something outside of yourself. In Okinawa, researchers noticed that most centenarians care for something alive before 7 in the morning. A garden, a houseplant, an animal, or sometimes a neighbor who is even older than they are. This is not a biological accident. When you take care of something alive, when you water a plant, feed a cat, or check on someone, your brain releases oxytocin and reduces cortisol at the same time. That is a combination that the nervous system rarely experiences in modern life. Connection without anxiety, being present without reacting. But the deeper mechanism is this. When you take care of something, you become necessary to it. And that feeling of being needed, truly, specifically, and irreplaceable, is one of the most powerful reasons for the body to keep going. Think about the old woman in Ogami. The tomatoes do not need her in a life or death sense. Someone else could water them. But she knows that and still goes because it is her Tuesday. Care is not an obligation, it is a relationship. And every morning, that relationship pulls her out of bed before any other reason even has a chance to appear. The quiet practice here is this. Before 7 in the morning, take care of something alive. Not something you own, but something you are responsible for. A plant on the windowsill, a cat, or a bouquet of flowers worse whose water you change every day. It can be small, but it must be specific and it must always be alive. But that is only one layer of this. In Japanese culture, there is a concept called on, pronounced on. It does not translate perfectly into English, but the closest definition is the kindness and gratitude that flows through relationships. It is the idea that you exist in a web of people who have done and are doing things for you, and that there is a natural movement to give back. The centenarians in Okinawa start their day with that exact action. The old woman leaves vegetables by the gate. The old man bakes extra bread for his neighbors. Someone else sweeps the path in front of a neighbor's house when no one is looking. They give before they receive anything. Most modern mornings begin in the exact opposite way. You receive before you give. News, notifications, an endless scrolling feed. It is all information flowing into you before you even have a chance to put anything out into the world. That trains the brain in a very specific way. Passive reaction instead of active presence. Your brain starts the day in a receiving posture, and it stays in that posture until late afternoon. There is a special quality to a morning when your very first action is for someone else. Not because you have to, but because someone is waiting for something from you, no matter how small it may be. It changes how you carry yourself into the rest of the day. You are no longer someone watching things happen. You are the person making things happen. The quiet practice here is this. Before you consume anything this morning, before you read, scroll, or check your phone, do one small thing for someone else. Text a friend you have been meaning to reach out to. Leave something by a neighbor's door. Water the plants in the shared hallway of your building. No one needs to know, and you do not need to be thanked. Just make sure it is the first thing you do. Let that sink in for a moment, because the next point is the core of all of this. Most self-improvement advice tells you to find your purpose, journal about it, draw diagrams of it, and think deeply about it. These Japanese centenarians do not do that. They do not ponder their reason for being in the morning. They walk toward it. This is where neuroscience agrees with Japanese philosophy. Ikigai is not activated by reflection. It is activated by purposeful movement. When you move towards something meaningful, even if it is just 3 blocks to a garden, your brain experiences a different kind of happiness than ordinary pleasure. Psychologists call this eudaimonic well-being, which is not about feeling good, but about feeling right. It is the feeling that you are the right piece in the right place. Most modern mornings lack purposeful movement before 7 o'clock. There is movement from the bed to the kitchen to the car, but there is no direction. There is nothing waiting for you at the end of it. The body moves, but the purpose stands still. The old woman in Ogimi does not think about her Ikigai on Tuesday mornings. She just puts on her slippers, grabs her watering can, and goes. In that movement, 3 blocks, 40 minutes, and the tomatoes waiting, her entire philosophy exists. It is not in her head. It is in her feet. The quiet practice here is this. Identify one thing that is waiting for you in some small, not your career, not your passion, but something specific, a person, a task, a place. And before 7 in the morning, move toward it. Do not think about it, move. But what if you do not know what that is yet? Ikigai is not a question you answer once and are done with. Most centenarians in Okinawa did not choose their Ikigai as a major decision. They just started doing something small and kept doing it. 40 years happens one Tuesday at a time. There are 4 small questions that Blue Zone's researchers often ask when they want to understand a person's Ikigai. The first question is there something you do that others look forward to, no matter how small? The second question is there something that would feel wrong to skip, not out of obligation, but because something would be missing? The third question is there something small you know that not everyone else knows, and that you can teach or share? The fourth question is there something you can take care of every week for the next 40 years? The answers are usually very quiet, not the kind of thing that sounds impressive at a dinner party. I make coffee every morning because my husband does not know how, and it is important to him. I text my sister on Wednesdays because she is going through a difficult time. I keep the office alive because no one else will. This is Ikigai, small, specific, alive. It is not a mission. It is not a legacy. It is not something you write on a business card. It is just one thing waiting for you, and you are the only one who knows it is waiting. The old woman in Ogimi did not choose tomatoes as her life purpose. She just chose them on some Tuesday many years ago and kept choosing them. That is the whole secret. It is not about finding a grand reason. It is about keeping coming back to a small one. All longevity studies ultimately ask the same question. Why do some people still want to wake up at 94 years old and others do not? The answer is not willpower. It is not genetics. It is not diet or exercise. The answer is something is waiting for them. You do not need an epic purpose to start this. You just need something small, specific, and alive. Something that will be waiting for you tomorrow morning. And the quiet truth that Japanese centenarians know is this. You do not find your Ikigai by thinking about it. You find it by keeping coming back, one Tuesday at a time, for 40 years. Leave a comment with a single word that describes what you want more of in your life. Just one word. I read every single one. Less noise, more clarity in life. That is the method.